Why hasn't Maxx Crosby just said he wants to be a Raider? What's up? This is Technically Correct with Tyler Bischoff. Maxx Crosby is in the news every day. Maxx Crosby keeps talking, but is he going to be a Raider much longer? Plus, Heidi Fang from the Review Journal joins the show, and we'll see how good her Raiders memory is. There is a very easy way Maxx Crosby could end any of the speculation about his future. Here we go. We have had a lot of Maxx Crosby tidbits over the last week or so. Started with Jay Glazer during Super Bowl week talking about how Maxx Crosby is done with the Raiders. And Jay Glazer said Crosby was going to get traded before the NFL draft. And that has led to more news. It also led to Maxx Crosby disputing that. Kind of. He didn't actually dispute that. He went on with Colin Cowherd later in the week, last week, and basically said he doesn't know why there are people talking for him. But he never actually said Jake Glazer was wrong. Maxx Crosby has not at one point said that he is or is not done with the Raiders. He has not addressed the actual details of what Jay Glazer said. He has simply said that he wants to stay quiet, that he wants to just show up, work, and rehab, and all of that. Colin Cowherd asked him, where are you with the Raiders? And Crosby didn't answer that question. He just said, I don't know why people are talking for me. It's better if I don't say anything, and I'm at work. I'm showing up to rehab. That's it. That's what Crosby had to say. We also got a little bit of a tidbit at Clint Kubiak's introductory press conference. Two tidbits, one of which is that Maxx Crosby was not in attendance for the actual press conference, like other players were. Ashton Jeanty was in attendance for that press conference. But Clint Kubiak did say that they had coffee. Kubiak, had coffee with Crosby the day of that press conference. Kubiak also gave the quote, "We want him to be part of our success going forward." Mark Davis talked to the media after that press conference. Ryan McFadden tweeted this out of ESPN. Mark Davis said, when asked about Crosby remaining with the Raiders, said, yeah, Max has been a great Raider. He's a great Raider. He's gone through a lifetime of development here for 7 or 8 years, and he is still a Raider, so it's all good. I don't know how much those quotes mean anything. I wouldn't expect the head coach or the owner to come out and just be like, oh yeah, we're done with him. Right? I don't think that's going to happen. I think we got pretty generic positive statements, right? Mark Davis has always been a big fan of Maxx Crosby, and I think even if they do trade him, he's not going to want to trade him. And then Clint Kubiak didn't say anything crazy. He just said Crosby's good, and we want him to be part of the team going forward. What I think is interesting, though, the detail to read into, is why didn't Maxx Crosby show up to the press conference? If Maxx Crosby wanted to make a statement with his presence about his thoughts on the Raiders and his future, there was a very easy way to do that. Show up to the press conference, right? The Raiders tweeted out a video where Clint Kubiak walks in the building and there's a bunch of people that work for the Raiders lining the stairs inside their lobby. There's some players there. Raiders tweet out a video showing Kubiak talking to everybody, shaking hands. He shakes hands with Ashton Jeanty. Maxx Crosby's not in that video. And I think if he was, the Raiders would have put them in their video. So Crosby wasn't there when Kubiak sort of first got introduced to the building, and he wasn't there for the introductory press conference. Those are two places where Crosby could have very, very easily just walked in, just been there. Don't even have to say anything. Just be there. And it would have meant something. Instead, Crosby's lack of appearance is what's noteworthy. He did have coffee with Kubiak, which is interesting because Kubiak made it sound like it was in the practice facility. Like this wasn't a, hey, I called him up and we went and met at a coffee shop. This was a, I showed up to work and Maxx Crosby was here because he's here rehabbing and lifting weights, whatever he's doing. And so I saw him in the cafeteria and we sat down and had some coffee for a second. It seems more like a, oh, conveniently we ran into each other, not a we planned to talk to each other, which I think makes a big difference if we're trying to interpret what Maxx Crosby wants when Maxx Crosby hasn't said what he wants. So I think if Crosby shows up to the press conference, I think if Crosby is there early when Kubiak walks in the door and is meeting everybody, that we could infer, oh, Crosby might be on board with where the Raiders are going, what the Raiders are doing. But he didn't do that. Doesn't mean he's like, oh yeah, I'm done with the Raiders and all of that. But this is the thing I don't understand. This is where it's even simpler than that. Maxx Crosby, on Radio Row, wasn't physically there, but he was on multiple shows during Radio Row after the Jay Glazer report. Multiple shows. And the Colin Cowherd one's the one that's got the most attention. At no point on those shows did Maxx Crosby say, I want to be a Raider. He did not say that. At no point did he say, I do not want to be traded. He never said that. He has complained that people are talking for him, which is valid. That's fine. If he doesn't know Jay Glazer or didn't talk to Jay Glazer, then he probably should be a little upset that Jay Glazer's out here saying Crosby's done with the Raiders. He wants to be traded. That's fine. But the best way to stop any of that from happening is to just come out and say, I am a Raider. I'm here. I'm good to go for the rest of my contract. Or at least I'm a Raider for 2026. However he wants to phrase it. If Maxx Crosby came out and said that, it would all be done. The only question then would be, do the Raiders want to trade him? But that's not what we're talking about because all of the reports have been Crosby's done with the Raiders. Crosby wants to be gone from the Raiders. Not that the Raiders are interested in trading him. It's that he is done. And if Crosby's tired of people talking about that, then just come out and say you're a Raider. Like he just posted a podcast yesterday, The Rush with Maxx Crosby, that they do roughly once a week. Did he say on there, I'm a Raider? I don't want to be traded. It's a podcast with your name on it. If you want people to stop talking about it, whether or not you want to leave the Raiders, just come out and say, I'm a Raider. That's all he has to do. And this is all done. Now, all of it's done. Not one person will question whether or not Maxx Crosby is going to ask for a trade or not. If Maxx Crosby just comes out and says, I want to be a Raider. But he hasn't done that yet, which makes you think what? He wants to be traded. Like, genuinely. That's what it makes me think, is that he wants to be traded because he hasn't come out and said, oh, I'm a Raider. Why the hell would I want to go anywhere else? Right? That's how you shut this down. That's it. So for as much as people want to be like, oh, there's always rumors about Crosby getting traded and Crosby's a Raider for life. If he was, he would say that by now. I do think there's one other area or one other aspect that could be playing into this. And I actually think this might be the most realistic option here. And that it is simply that Maxx Crosby doesn't know what he wants yet. I think that genuinely might be his side of the situation. The Raiders could trade him even if he wants to stay. But I genuinely think his side of the situation, it might simply be he doesn't know. Maxx Crosby has played for one organization his entire career. Maxx Crosby loves being a Raider. Maxx Crosby, he genuinely loves it. I've talked about this before. Crosby thinks less of LeBron James and more of Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan because of what they did for one franchise in their career, right? They stayed with one franchise. Jordan went to the Wizards, but whatever. They stayed with one franchise in their career. They didn't jump around from team to team. Crosby has said out loud that he values that. And so in his mind, right, leaving the Raiders to go to a different team, right? If he left the Raiders and ends up in Buffalo or something like that, he's the LeBron James of that scenario, and he doesn't like that. He doesn't value that. He said that before. So I can understand that, he puts a lot of value on being a Raider and being with this one team. He likes being here too. But if Maxx Crosby wants to win, it's probably not going to happen with the Raiders. At least if Maxx Crosby wants to win when he's at the height of his powers, when he's in his peak. It's probably not going to happen with the Raiders because if things go really well for the Raiders, then maybe 2027 and Crosby would be 30, and there's some chance there. But most likely, if things go just decently well for the Raiders, we're talking about 2028 and 2029 as sort of the key years for, hey, they might be something. Crosby will be 31 and then 32 in those years, and the reality is that he'll be either out of his peak or on the downside of his peak and might not even be like the best defensive player on a team that can win a Super Bowl. So if Crosby wants to win while he's in his peak, he's got to go somewhere else. And obviously, that's something that players are going to value as well. So I think the real answer to all of this might simply be Maxx Crosby doesn't know what he wants yet. And I think that's perfectly fine because it's an incredibly tough decision. Do you want to leave the only team you've played for, a team that you like playing for, right? He talked, was it Calvert? I can't remember. He talked to somebody on Radio Row about he's got his house here. He loves his house. He's going to have this house for however long, right? Not just how long he's a Raider, but he's going to have this house even when he's not a Raider necessarily. So he could get traded to Buffalo and keep his house in Vegas, right? He likes being here. And I can understand it's difficult to be like, well, I don't want to move. I don't want to leave, but I also kind of want to win a Super Bowl. Like, which one is more important? That can be a tough thing to figure out. And so I don't blame Crosby if he just simply doesn't know what he wants yet. The only thing that I think is an issue is that he hasn't come out and said, I am a Raider. He's complaining that other people are talking for him when he's had plenty of chances to talk. He's been on multiple shows. He's got his own podcast, and he hasn't actually said it himself. And that's really the big thing to me is that either he doesn't know or he does want to leave. Because if he wanted to be a Raider, if he was convinced of it, he would have already said it. He's had so many chances to do so. He had a press conference he could have just appeared at, and it would have made it work. So I think that's where we're at with Maxx Crosby. And if you're brushing off this idea that, oh, they say this every year, he doesn't actually want to be, he's never going to be traded, like this is just a rumor, that's not reality. If Maxx Crosby wanted to stay, he could just say he wanted to stay. But the other sort of complicating part of this, and this is why I was mad on yesterday's show that nobody asked John Spytek about it, the Raiders might want to trade him regardless of what Crosby thinks. Crosby could want to stay, could love it, everything, and be like, yeah, I'm in on Kubiak and all of that, but the Raiders might want to trade him. And if the Raiders want to trade him, then it might not matter what Crosby wants. They trade him and get whatever draft picks they want to rebuild their future. I personally think it's in the Raiders' best interest to trade him. Obviously not for just whatever trade package, but assuming you get a first and like a second, if that's at least what you get, I think that is worth trading Maxx Crosby for. Timeline-wise, asset-wise, money-wise, it makes sense to do that for the Raiders. They are committed to some form of a rebuild. That's what I would be looking to do if I were the Raiders, would be to trade him away, get back a first plus, maybe 2 firsts. I mean, it's possible. I'd be surprised, but maybe 2 firsts and go from there. I know he's hurt as well, and we had what was it, Ian Rappaport story where it's like, yeah, he actually had to get a more serious surgery than everybody thought, and instead of a 4 to 6 week recovery, it's actually a 3 to 4 month recovery. Our team's going to trade for a guy who's in the middle of rehabbing a knee injury when he's going to be 29 years old, and it's the second straight year he's missed time due to injury. That makes him less valuable. Yes, so maybe that's why a trade can't happen anytime soon, but I think the Raiders would be in their best interest to do that and get some draft picks that would help them 3 years from now when they, in theory, should be entering some sort of playoff contention, if everything goes really well, championship contention window. Obviously, if Mendoza's bad, there's going to be no championship window, but that in theory is where the Raiders should be looking, and trading Crosby would help quite a bit. So until Crosby comes out and says, I want to be a Raider, there's going to be trade speculation. There's going to be reports because he has not shut this down, despite having ample opportunity to do so.
Battle Blast, been serving Las Vegas since June 2012 with the very best in family entertainment. We are proud to provide the best facility, equipment, and service possible. Strap on laser tag vests, step into the 5,600 square foot 2-story arena designed to look like a worn, torn city street. An exciting atmosphere filled with exhilarating music, blacklight effects, and fog. Battle Blast also features a viewing deck for those not playing can watch players vest up and catch a view of the action going on in the arena. In between games, check out our arcade and prize center and enjoy tasty treats from our snack bar. Birthday parties, sports teams, group outings, and corporate events. Battle Blast does it all. We want to make your Battle Blast experience so good you'll want to return again and again. Battle Blast is the ultimate destination for family fun and friendly competition.
Bischoff's Briefs is brought to you by Battle Blast Las Vegas, the best laser tag in Vegas. It's the best spot for your next event, whether it's a kid's birthday party, your birthday party, or an office party. Bring everybody to Battle Blast Las Vegas. Get your friends, your family, your coworkers out to Battle Blast Las Vegas. They've got an arcade and prizes. There's more than just laser tag. It's Battle Blast Las Vegas, located at 8125 West Sahara Avenue. Your next stop for fun in Vegas. U.S. men's hockey team starts its quest for gold today. 12:15 Pacific time start against Latvia. By the way, the women play in a quarterfinal on Friday at 12:10 against Italy. But the men start today, the U.S. men. Jack Eichel is expected to be the center of the top line with Brady and Matthew Tkachuk. Noah Hannafin is going to be a healthy scratch. You might be listening to this by the time the game is played, but Initially, I thought I saw that he was in the top 6 of the defensemen, but then I've seen recently he's actually the 4th pair, which would not be playing. So don't actually know what's happening if Noah Hannafin's going to be playing or not, but Eichel absolutely will be. So U.S. men's hockey starts today, as does Canada. We saw a couple of games yesterday. Italy almost won a game where they got outshot by like 70 or something ridiculous like that. Also in college football, Sportico apparently obtained the agreement between North Dakota State and the Mountain West. So they're joining the conference. What exactly are all of the details and everything that those two sides have to agree to, right? And their stories, I'm kind of confused after reading it because there's a new detail in Sportico where North Dakota State is agreeing to spend more money on football. So according to the story, last year North Dakota State spent $8.4 million on football. The average of the Mountain West teams, and the Mountain West teams for next season, not this past season, but the average of the new Mountain West teams was $15 million. UNLV, the most, $21.2 million. And according to the agreement, North Dakota State is going to spend more money on football. And if they struggle on the field, they will have to increase their spending even more. But that's the only way it was worded. There were no more details than that. So what defines struggle? Like 2 and 10 struggling, does 6 and 6 count as struggling? Like who gets to define what struggling is? What if they go 2 and 6 in Mountain West play, but all of their losses are by 3 points? Does that count as struggling? Like there's this vague description, not even a description, just the word struggle. And if you struggle, you have to spend more money, but how much more? We don't really know. So very weird that North Dakota State's agreed to spend more money, but we don't actually know how much more money after Sportico got the actual document that the school and the conference signed. Also from that Sportico story, a contradiction to what we had previously reported. So initially, or earlier this week, it had been reported that North Dakota State was not going to get any of the television revenue from the Mountain West. But Sportico's story said that in year 1, North Dakota State can get up to 75% of a full share. Now, we don't know how much a full share is, and we don't know what they have to do to get to 75%. So again, more vagueness in this story, but they apparently can get 75% of a share. And then in year 2, they could get as much as 85%. And then by year 6, they're guaranteed to get at least 85%. I don't know what the hell any of that means. Like there's benchmarks that nobody knows about that they have to hit to get 75% of a share in year 1. I don't know, just very confusing and makes me question things that I thought we already knew about this deal. None of it makes me think it's not a good decision by the Mountain West, by the way. It's none of this is like important enough. It's just kind of like, oh, how much money is North Dakota State getting and how much are they having to spend? Yeah, it's all vague. Don't worry about it. In college basketball, we got a fun story from Matt Norlander of CBS Sports yesterday. Villanova and Notre Dame, both the men's and women's teams, are going to play each other uh, to start next season, and they're going to do it in Rome. They apparently got a special waiver from the NCAA to play one day before the actual start date of the season. So college basketball usually starts on a Monday. Next year, the first game will actually be the Sunday before in Rome between Villanova and Notre Dame. No word on that story if the Pope is actually going to attend, but we all know American Pope likes sports. So college basketball will start in Rome on a Sunday. They're also apparently playing in an arena that holds like 3,500 people. So they're going to play in some tiny arena, which seems like that would be great. In the NFL, there could be a change coming to the onside kick. So Pro Football Talk had a story on this. The onside kick has been completely ruined, right? You can't recover these things. The onside kicks were recovered 8% of the time this season. And apparently the NFL owners of the rules committee, they're going to look at possibly getting rid of the onside kick and giving teams the one offensive play to keep the ball. According to this story, it would be a 4th and 13 play. So basically, you line up, you get 13 yards, you keep the ball. You don't get 13 yards, your opponent gets the ball. It's just going to be like a drive starting on 4th and 13, right? I don't know why 4th and 13 and not why 4th and 15. That seems weird. Just pick 13. But I will pretty much always like this idea because onside kicks are stupid. The whole idea of an onside kick is, all right, we're going to kick the ball. It has to go 10 yards, and we're just going to hope it takes a dumb bounce and you can't catch it and we do. Like there's so like there's no skill involved. Like we know there's no skill involved on the kicker side because you watch onside kicks and most of them suck. So we know these guys can't do it regularly well, and then the only skill involved outside of that is can one guy catch the football coming at him? Otherwise, it's just, which way is it going to bounce? And it's so hard to do that we see less than 10% actually converted. So I'm on board with less kicking and more actual football, right? Like genuinely, if you're watching a football game, and let's just use the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes as the example, they're down 13. They score a touchdown with 38 seconds left and no timeouts left. So they need to get the ball back. Would you rather see the kicker run out there and try to do this weird onside kick, or would you rather see Patrick Mahomes try to convert a 4th and 15? That's an easy answer because I'd rather watch Patrick Mahomes convert a 4th and 15 than almost anything in the sport. It's great. Apparently, there's some concern that, like, this favors offensive teams and quarterbacks or teams with good quarterbacks more. Who cares? I don't care about that. So I'm in favor of this, but I will say, I'd be fine if they left the onside kick alone entirely because we don't need to increase the percentage of onside kicks being recovered. Football is supposed to be an alternating possession sport. That's the whole point of the game. You trade possessions. It should be really hard to steal a possession from your opponent. It should be incredibly difficult. And 8% of the time sounds about right. It's kind of fun that you can steal it. Yes, admittedly. But it shouldn't be easy. It shouldn't be like, 20% of the time we can just take your possession away. That's stupid. Like imagine in baseball if you could just prevent the other team from batting one inning. You're just like, okay, that you'd be like, well, that's the antithesis of the sport. That's not what we're supposed to be doing here. That's how I feel about onside kicks. Is like, yeah, they're cool when a team's trying to come back and everything, and like the potential of it. But the reality is that goes against the nature of the sport. The whole point of the sport is we trade possessions and who scores more points wins the game, not we trade possessions, we have more points than you, and you don't have time you can't get possession back. Oh, just kidding, you stole possession from us. That's just dumb. Last thing in Bischoff's briefs, also in the NFL, there's apparently going to be new field standards in 2027. So according to the Washington Post, there's going to be a new level of quality that the NFL is going to have to approve field. And the big thing here is grass versus turf and how safe everything is, right? The field that sticks out the most is MetLife, where the Jets and the Giants play, because that turf seems to cause ACL and Achilles injuries frequently. The NFL's come out and said, oh, turf and grass, they actually have injuries at the same rate. There's no real difference there. I know some of the criticism of that is like, well, what about significant injuries? Because tearing your ACL is much different than spraining your ankle, right? But there's going to be a different quality there. The thing that I have always found fascinating about this, the players want grass, they think it's safer. But the owners who pay these players and the NFL teams that seasons can be derailed by quarterback injuries, right? The owners are not willing to put in grass that their players want to play on and that their players say, hey, we're safer on this field. But in order to host games for the World Cup, which are going to be played at NFL stadiums, you know what they have to do? Put in grass. So the player safety, or even just the player preference for their own players, not okay. Nope, not good enough. We're not going to put in grass. But FIFA comes calling and says, we're going to put the World Cup at your stadium. However, you have to lay grass down. Yes, please, FIFA. We will do whatever you say, as long as we make a little bit of money off of this. We don't care about Malik Neighbors and Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterboo's health. Not at all. We do care about FIFA making sure we can make a little bit of money off of the World Cup. So here comes the grass for a sport that these owners don't have anything to do with most of the time, but they won't do it for their own teams. Bischoff's Briefs is brought to you by Battle Blast Las Vegas, the best laser tag in Vegas. Host your next birthday party at Battle Blast. You can book the party package where you get a private party room, a dedicated host, pizza, soda, tokens for the arcade, and laser tag. You can also add on a game for adults after the kids are done playing, if you want to play, which why wouldn't you want to play? It's Battle Blast Las Vegas, located at 8125 West Sahara Avenue. Your next out for fun in Las Vegas. She is Heidi Fang from the Review Journal. Hello, Heidi. Thanks for coming on my show.
I'm happy to be here, as you can tell. I like all the hands waving.
Yeah. It's good to
I'm
talk
so
to
excited
Heidi.
to do this.
Heidi seems to be at everything in Las Vegas sports, so Heidi knows everything is what I'm just going to assume here. I told Heidi ahead of time I'm going to make her play a game at the end of this to see how good she is, so hopefully she gets really nervous leading up to that in anticipation because she has no idea what the game is going to be.
None whatsoever. But if it's a movie game, I'm so winning.
It's not a movie game. I don't know if you know this. I don't watch movies. Like, I have very, very little movie knowledge. So if it was any sort of movie game, I wouldn't even be able to ask you questions about movies.
It's a bummer.
It
My
is.
brother and my sister and I, like, we all just talk in movie quotes, like, to each other all the time. It's like a family thing, and people on the outside hate us for it.
And I would
So,
have no
but
clue you were doing it either.
that's the
nightmare.
beauty of it.
People could be doing that to me on a regular basis, and I wouldn't have any idea it was happening.
I love doing it. It's just like, I don't know, some like my favorite movies. I was quoting it's an old one, like Steve Martin from a movie called The Jerk yesterday, and my brother automatically got it. But this isn't a movie game, so I'm probably not gonna win.
I don't know what The Jerk is. I do know who Steve Martin is because I've watched Only Murders in the Building.
Yes. Perfect.
So I do know who Steve Martin is, which is better than I usually do. All right. Here's what I want to ask you about the Raiders, or I want to start with the Raiders. Is Maxx Crosby going to be a Raider this season? Like, what do you think happens with Crosby?
There's so much like I think everyone's trying to read in between the lines and look at the tea leaves and whatnot. In the end, it's like I know Max's passion. I feel like I have a pretty close relationship with him when it comes to speaking with him in the locker room and being honest and frank and all of that. When we have off the record discussions and things like that, there was no inkling to me whatsoever, except for knowing obviously that he was upset by being benched in the final couple of games of the season, to lead me to believe that Maxx would not don the silver and black next year. When you hear Kubiak yesterday, for instance, talking about Maxx and Mark Davis talking about Maxx, they are seemingly aligned and also both very interested in getting him back involved in the picture, having a, let's go with him as being part of our future success type mindset. So that leads me to believe that they are getting aligned. Whether or not that means that his trade value could be worth something to this team that is looking at yet another rebuild from a player who's been drafted by them, from 2019 on to now. That this would be the peak of his value if you are going to move on
Yeah.
from him. But I,
On
I don't know. It's tough.
on on Max's side, because part of this is he could request a trade and then they would probably trade him. I would assume if he asked for one, they would say, "Okay, we'll trade you." He he seems to put value into, I got drafted by the Raiders, playing for one team. Like he likes playing for the Raiders, even though they haven't done a lot of winning. If they were winning, this is no question. I think he's staying with the Raiders for the entirety of his career. But has there been ever anything he's said or anything you've seen where it's like, yes, I want to play for the Raiders, but it's more important that I win something. It's more important that I'm on a team that could actually win playoff games. Like, has that ever been said by him or something you've observed where it's like, oh, wow, he might actually care about that more than staying with the Raiders?
Max wears his heart on his sleeve. Like, and that's something I remember from some of these locker room trips that have been absolutely abysmal. Starting off with the night before Josh McDaniels was let go, and we were in the Detroit locker room, and Max is just head hanging. He knows we're all standing there to talk to him. You know how that goes. Everyone's waiting at the locker room. Will Max speak? Because most of the time at those kinds of games when there are huge losses, nobody wants
Yeah.
to talk to us. Max usually always makes time to talk to us. So he was very emotional in that time. And he's like, I'm here. I'm through this team. We're just going to find ways to win. We're going to go. And he always says the same things. And I don't think it's just company jargon. I don't think it's just lingo that he's putting on. When we sat, gosh, I can't remember which locker room now, but it was like about last season. Sorry, it's all starting to blend together for me. As you know, I've covered this team for like the last 10 years. It might have been the year before. I think it was this past season. And I think it was in SoFi. And somebody had asked him about, the loss and his commitment to the team. And he's like, it's tattooed right here, and he was actually emotional. You can hear, the choked up talk kind of come through without being choked up in his voice, like that he was holding it down to just get through the question and the interviews. But uh, all in all, he's somebody that has been very passionate about this team. He's been passionate about the growth of the team. When I hear and see things like we had this week that say, I can't be a part of another rebuild, I do believe that too. And so it's
Yeah.
like, but without hearing from him, and I watched the rush. I was watching it actually just before I was telling you before I jumped on the show. I was talking with Ed Graney. I didn't get through the whole episode, but it seems like it may have been recorded before Kubiak spoke. But the fact that Kubiak sat down, went in the building, spoke with the number one, said, "Hey, I need to sit with you and have a coffee and find out where your head is at," and that Kubiak came out of that translating that he was satisfied with the conversation and that he's looking forward to him being a part of the team in the future. I do think that that resounded with some of the media there that he does want to be involved, and the fact that he is at the headquarters, the fact that he did that interview tour after Jay Glazer was on the Yahoo Sports Daily Show and dropped all those bombs into the world, and then, the pickup, the pieces was starting. Well, Max went on from the headquarters in his Raider gear, decked out head to toe, and also saying, that he was at the headquarters, had been there since the
Right.
morning working on his rehab. Those to me are all signs that, okay, those are the breadcrumbs, but is the upper management, is the brass looking to move on? That could be a completely different issue from what Max wants.
Yeah. So I like from Max's perspective, I feel like it's could be very evident that he just doesn't necessarily know because it's a hard decision of say, hey, I like living in Vegas. I like being a Raider, but I also would, like to win a Super Bowl, and that's a hard decision. But
Mhm.
like you mentioned from the team perspective, and also there's reasons for them to trade him away. And I think my biggest question on it is if I gave you this hypothetical, John
Okay.
Spytek and Tom Brady decide it's in our best interest to trade Maxx Crosby. They have an offer from some team and they're like, it's enough. There's enough value here. It's in our best interest. Would Mark Davis let it happen? Because he loves Maxx Crosby. Like, would Davis be okay with that trade?
It's a great question, and something that, you would have to contemplate what the package would be.
Yeah.
Imagine it's like Micah Parsons level. Heck, I mean, even what, Dallas gave out, for Quinnen Williams last year, it's like, how big would the package need to be? What would it need to trump? And even when you think about cap space and dead money from that perspective, I believe I read that it would just be 5.5 million that the Raiders would, take a hit on with the contract with Max too. So it's like, not a lot.
Yeah.
It depends on the value you would get back, and if you look at that value, who are you going to get with that? Are you building your own line? Are you building a linebacker position? Are you building another defensive, lineman? Where does that value get distributed to? How will you use it? And is there somebody or someone that you think is going to be the next blue chip player of this franchise for that value? Just speaking, from that type of perspective. And for, like you said, Mark Davis, he loves Max. He was resigned. Yes, Max. We want him here. But when you bring in the part owners like Tom Brady, when you bring in John Spytek, who, they clearly collaborate really well on what it is that they want the vision of this team to be, how does Max fit into that picture with some of the, you know, salt poured in the wound that happened during the past couple of weeks? And how do you try to keep that from festering and growing and becoming an infection?
Do you have any idea? Crosby was not happy with the having to be sit out the last 2 games.
Oh, yeah,
Do you
100%.
have any idea, is he mad at Spytek over that? Is he mad, was it a like, where was that anger directed, I guess? Do you have any idea where it was?
I haven't been able to speak to him since, and I did reach out a couple of times, but, I think there's been too much of a circus for him to really wanna come back and answer me. No, he's a busy guy. But I I I don't know if that came like my anger is against Pete Carroll, my anger is against the training staff, my anger is against John Spytek. I don't know, because I wasn't in that room and I was not there to be a part of it. But to speculate, I would think that obviously the Raiders came back with a statement after they benched him, saying that it had to do with his healing and his recovery, and that we've evaluated him and he needs to have the surgery. And you look at the process of that, it would have to have gone to one of the trainers within the building. And I saw a report today saying that it was a man named Guerrero, but I don't know that he was the one that went to Max and said, "Hey, guy, we got to sit you down." And he's like, "No, you're not sitting me down. I'm Max Crosby." I mean, you look at the players' end of it, no player wants to sit out. And, Max played through a torn labrum one year. And imagine having a torn labrum and then a broken hand on his hand that he uses to, shift over his weight and all, and to basically work with every single play that he's on 80 times a game. If you're thinking 80 snaps a game, that he played through that. I think that was in the year of 2019. 'Cause, yeah, I spoke to him. That was the year he got sober, and he had just showed me his tattoo. So it's 2019, his rookie year, playing through all of that, and he played in most of the season. So you think about that comparison, the knee problem. But then again, here's fun. I'm going to post this today, by the way, dropping on vegasnation.com. We got one question with Howie Long. Ed Graney used that one question to say, how important is Max to the Raiders? And one of the things Howie said was that, "I wish there would be somebody in there to reel him in sometimes because they're trying to preserve his longevity." And he says, "Take it from a guy that's had 13 surgeries, and I wish I hadn't had those. I wish I had somebody to reel me in from playing 80 snaps in every single game. And for the years that I played and how many injuries I had, and, the intention is good. And of course you want to be involved and you want to be there, but we also need you in the playoffs." And so that was something that I thought about, the way Howie thought, in retrospect, how important is it to save Max Crosby from himself?
That is fascinating because, like,
Um,
Crosby always plays. One of my, like, funniest stories is that it was the year Antonio Pierce was the interim, and Crosby, like, got hurt on a play and was laying on the ground, and they sent somebody in to sub for him, and he refused to come off the field, so they had to
yep.
call a timeout, otherwise they were gonna get flagged for 12 men on the field because he just
Hmm.
wouldn't leave the field. But it's fascinating to hear a former player be like, "Yeah, somebody needs to say, 'Hey, Max, it's okay if you play 90% of the snaps today. You don't have to play 100% of the snaps.'" That, especially because this is the typical sports thing. He's 20, he's gonna be 29 when the season starts, so he's
Yeah.
old now, right? Like, that's fascinating to be like, "Yeah, we want to keep you, and you should want to keep yourself healthy as long as possible. So don't push yourself all the way to the limit when that's sort of the personality of Maxx Crosby. I feel like that's
Yeah.
also part of what makes him great is that's
Mhm.
who he is.
Yeah, it's all about, the greatness, the 1%, putting in 1% more every day than you did the day before and, growing as a person, developing it into somebody that can be legendary. That's like tattooed on him, obviously. We know that, but it's something like that where you have to look at it and say, "Oh, I get where Howie's coming from. He's had the perspective. He's been on the field. He's been in Max's shoes. In how do you think about having all of those things that you can accomplish as a player without your health?"
I want to talk about Clint Kubiak too, because, and this
Yeah.
is this is not a criticism, but my biggest takeaway from that was it was like the most boring introductory press conference that I think I've watched. Because usually coaches are very excited and they say something to try to get the fan base excited, and that was not Clint Kubiak. It was very sort of monotone and just like, "Hi, I'm Clint. Nice to meet everybody." Um, do you think like that was on not from Kubiak, but like when the Raiders were hiring a coach, did they kind of want that attitude, especially coming off of Antonio Pierce and then Pete Carroll, like almost a hey, this is the opposite of what we have had the last few years?
You know, I would think no, I don't think his real personality had too much to do with it. Although I will say I did not think it was on brand for Kubiak. I was expecting 5-word answers to everything. And he
You thought it was going
actually
to be
got
really
that. I
short.
thought it was gonna be like, "What do you think about the future of this team? It's gonna be great. We're gonna get him." Yeah, I was thinking something along those lines. I didn't think we would actually get paragraphs, so I was impressed.
Okay.
But no, I get what you're saying. A lot of the persona, a lot of the excitement and the hoopla was gone from it. But to me, it wasn't. Uh, I wasn't missing any of that. I was happy to hear somebody that was even keeled, that had a plan, that was setting out steps for how he's going to accomplish it. Somebody who obviously has an offensive mind that really went help this team come up from the depths of the NFL rankings in terms of offensive production. That's something that I could see him meticulously stepping out in his head. And I'm going, okay, I could see the gear cranking already when he's looking out to the seats with Ashton Genty and with having shook hands with Brock Bowers moments ago and having a young offensive lineman there kind of just gleaming up at the coach and Caleb Rogers and thinking how much these guys are looking forward to seeing the growth that they can have with a coach that's done it with guys like look at Kenneth Walker's season with Kubiak. Look at Alvin Kamara's season with Kubiak. Look at Christian McCaffrey's season with Kubiak. If you go back and watch what he's done with his running backs and how he's been able to really put them in positions for success on the field, those were the things that I was taking away from that press conference more so than the Raiders, like Antonio Pierce did
Yeah.
and looking for the media to respond. And we're all like, oh, we're not supposed to do that. So, my dad always said one thing, and of course, his level of coaching was nowhere close to the NFL, but he was a coach throughout his lifetime, which is what gave me a lot of great passion for what I do, was watching him in the ranks. And something he always told me is you don't want to have a coach that's a friend. You want to have a coach that's going to set your structure. And he goes, it doesn't matter if you are best friends with the guy on your left or your right and buddy buddy. I would rather have the coach that sets, okay, this is the bar, this is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to reach it, and that gives structure to a team. And so I thought about that over the years and looked at the success of the buddy coaches versus the coaches like, Gruden has the type of personality with his players that translates against both of those, where
Yeah.
he could get in there with the guys and rile them up, but he would also set the structure. And I think that Kubiak has that ability as well in his own way. It's subtle, but I think he can get there.
Worst part about having a dad who was a coach.
Doing liners if you ran backwards with a football. You I would watch him go, okay, and we would just get in sometimes for, giggles just to get our wiggles out as kids, and you would watch him, and if anybody ran backwards on a punt return, it would be 40 liners up and down. So, and then he coached basketball, liners, missed the free throw, liners. So it's like, okay, stuff like that. Don't set your feet on the charge, liners.
Sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, but no, he was always great with us. But I would see he did it mostly to like the athletes, and when I was watching the athletes, and they were like, "God, get me out of here." Yeah, but it paid off in the end. They didn't miss free throws in clutch situations.
All right. The last thing I want to do, Heidi, is I've got a game for you.
Sure.
And this
Okay.
is tailored specifically for you. So
Okay.
I heard you on the CityCast Las Vegas podcast talking about the Raiders last week, and you mentioned in there that you have a good memory when it comes to, like, you see a player's face and their jersey number,
Uh-huh.
and you remember them.
Yeah.
So I think I've got 6 jersey numbers.
Whoa. Well,
And
let's get the glasses on.
I want to know if you can tell me all of the players just for the Las
Oh,
Vegas Raiders
okay.
that have worn these jersey numbers. Okay, so
Okay.
we'll start off very
I'm
easy.
putting in I'm meditating.
Yeah, and
There we
I'll
go.
give you the amount of players that you have to answer, and if you want, I can give you like position and stuff too. But we'll start
Oh.
off easy and get harder. The first one, number 98.
Well, that would be Maxx Crosby from pretty much the entire time of Las
Yes.
Vegas. Okay.
Yes. He's the only one. All right. The second one is the
Mhm.
number 2. 2 different players have worn the number 2 for the Las Vegas Raiders.
Well, Daniel Carlson and Ashton Genty.
Yes. All right. So
Okay.
those are the 2 easy ones. They're going to get a little bit harder now.
Dun, dun.
Number 8. It's 4 players that have worn number 8 for the Raiders.
Okay, Josh Jacobs, Daniel Carlson. I'm going back because that was before Marcus Mariota.
Yes.
And then there was one more. Don't tell me it's in my brain. I could see it. It was in Oakland.
It was
Ah,
here. It was here.
it was here?
It was
Then I
between Jacobs and
okay.
Carlson.
Oh, and then Jacobs bought the number off of him, but it wasn't Mariota.
No, it was after Jacobs.
After Jacobs.
Yes. It
And
was
then
another running back.
okay, so no, he didn't wear it. Amir Abdullah.
Yes, that is correct. That is the 4 players that have worn number 8. All
I
right.
don't know if you saw the hamster, but he did fall off my wheel.
All right.
And then he
now-
jumped back on. He said, I saw him meditating in Baltimore, and he's wearing the number 8. That's what I had to do. I had to visualize.
All right. Now, there's only 2 players that wore this number.
Okay.
One should be easy, but one's going to be really difficult. Number 13.
So only 2 players that have worn 13, Philip Dorsett
How'd you get the
Hunter
hard one first?
Hunter Renfro. Because
Yeah, how the hell
he was wearing it this year.
Yeah, but he didn't even play a real game.
But Dorsett's my dude. We talk about boxing.
Okay. All
And
right.
he tells me about how he grills his salmon.
I should have made this way harder, apparently, if
Okay.
Philip Dorsett's coming that easily. All right. We have 4 players that have
Okay.
worn the number 7.
Okay. Hold on. Going back into my visualization mode. 7. Well, geez. Okay. Wait, no, he didn't, did he? Trayvon Merrick?
He
Did he wear
did. Trayvon
7?
Merrick did
Okay.
wear number
He
7.
changed his
Yes.
number on me.
Yes.
And so that one took me a minute because I had to go back into his number jersey changes, which always kind of freaked me out. Trayvon Merrick. Do you see the ball? Do you see like your
I do.
purple glowing
do,
going on
yes.
behind me? Okay, he was another okay, I want to say wide receiver, and I want to say he was like practice squad. I can't get it.
You have
I only have
there's
Trayvon
there's
Merrick.
3 more players.
Okay,
2
the
of
worst
them are
7.
quarterbacks.
Oh, okay. This should be fun. Going through. No, because Driscoll wore 17. And then Connor, no, he was number 15.
One of them you don't have to think too hard about.
I don't? Okay. Don't tell me. No, he was 15. 4, obviously. And then when he had a backup. Wait, no, Connor?
No.
Connor. Why can't I think of his last name? Oh, wait. No, I'm being serious right now. He was Green Bay. I remember him. Bisaccia. Um, and and he was like on the practice squad, and he was somebody that played with Green Bay before he came to the Raiders.
You are on the right
I
track for
know,
one
but
of
my
these.
brain, the
Yes.
name is gone.
Yes.
I mean,
He
I
he
need the
he,
gimme.
he only appeared in 3 games for the Raiders.
Oh gosh, I know who he is. I can't think of his name. I remember taking photographs of him on the indoor practice field with Rich Bisaccia talking to him and welcoming him on that day. Do you attend Michigan? You have to
I
give it
don't
to
know
me.
that. Brian Hoyer.
Yeah, oh god. No,
Yeah.
that wasn't who I was thinking of. I
Oh,
was thinking of
no.
somebody else, a different
Okay.
quarterback. So it's
Okay.
the other quarterback that wore 7 that's in my
Y
head. It
you
wasn't
so the other quarterback that wore 7
yeah.
sh should be easy.
I don't know why I can't think of it.
Don't don't go too far back in time.
Oh, really? Okay.
Go 2 months back in time.
Not Stiddy. Stiddy didn't
No.
wear 7.
No. Like 2 months.
2 months?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm so lost because I'm thinking of them all out there. Aiden didn't wear 7. And who am I
I'm telling you,
missing?
you're thinking too hard. You're thinking too hard about it. You got Philip Dorsett, and now you're
Oh,
just letting me
Geno
down with this.
Smith, for
Yes,
Christ's
Geno
sakes.
Smith.
Just,
Uh,
you know what? I'll excuse myself from this show.
one more player that wore number 7, and he was a wide receiver, and it was, I believe he was on the first year the team was in Vegas.
Okay. I'm trying to remember my wide receivers. That's been like so much turnover in that time. And no, no. I'm going through my Rolodex in my head. I'm like, that was no. Seth Roberts. No. Yeah, gosh, I can't. I'll be
It
honest,
is
my brain is empty on 7.
it is Zay
Gino
Jones.
done ruined me. If
Gino did ruin number 7.
yeah,
Zay
Gino ruined
Jones.
me. Levitate Zay, I'm so
Yes.
sorry. He was
Yes. All right.
another one that also switched numbers.
I have one number
Yes.
left for you. I would say this is probably the most
I'm so
difficult
mad at
of the
Geno Smith
numbers.
right now.
It's fair. You should be. Um, we have 4 different players have worn the number 1 for the Raiders.
Okay. 4 different players?
Yes.
Okay. And so you got tough on me, and I'm
You have
ashamed of myself.
you have 3 wide
I am.
receivers. I
Yes.
believe one of them recently changed his number. I'd have to double check
Oh,
that.
Trey.
Yes, Trey
Trey
Tucker.
Tucker. Yeah, he was 11. He did
Yes.
change it. He was 11 and he changed to 1.
So you have
Okay.
two other wide receivers and 1 safety that wore the number 1.
Uh-huh. Jeremy Chin didn't wear number 1 because he was always 11. And then who else was at that position beforehand that left and he was there for like a year wearing number gosh. This is tougher. It got tougher on me, I'm not gonna lie. And
You
I'm feeling like I
you
can't
pulled
do
out
it.
Philip Dorsett, and I thought
I
these were all
know.
I was
Well,
like,
because
"Oh my god."
we had some chats, me and Philip. And then like so I get into my brain, right? And I'm not making excuses for what I said because I'm pretty good at this. But like when there's been a high rate of turnover and then you start thinking, okay, well, um, this year I have to erase that number 7 from my brain because he's not going to be here. And so you go through it again and start over. Okay, another number 1 that's not Trey Tucker and a safety and a wide receiver. Um, gosh, because that's part of my job. And so that's why I hate it is because when I'm on the field, I'm not looking half the time at the roster. And the guys that work with
Right.
me as a photographer know this, and they cannot stand me for it. So, although when there's like, the random coach or something on the team and they're just like, "Oh my god, how did you know that?" I'm like, "It's just burned in there." Number ones, number ones, number ones. Okay. Um, yeah, I have a affiliate school that the number 1 went to. Either
Okay.
one, safety
Okay.
or wide
I'll
receiver.
okay, there's 2 wide receivers, by the way.
Oh, 2? Oh, I thought
I'll
I
give
got
you
1
the
with Trey.
okay. Well, no, there are 3 total wide
Okay.
receivers.
3?
One of the wide receivers, is probably most well known for playing for the Eagles,
Okay. Yeah, I remember he didn't come there. He didn't
but he
come there.
only played a total of 9 games for the Raiders.
Oh, jeez. Who was it that came there? That was in the AP era, wasn't it? 'Cause I remember
No. It
you
was it
no?
was in it was before Antonio Pierce, and,
Okay, okay.
he's by the way, he's now a coach at Delaware State.
I tell him to stay. Dang it. People are gonna laugh at me after they watch this and say, "How did you not know? How did you not know?" But it's not easy on the spot, and I'm not Googling, and I won't look up any rosters. But it has been 10 years, so it's been a long time. So, no, I can't. My brain is already drained.
Deshaun Jackson.
Oh, Jesus. He was there. That's who I thought of. I'm not gonna lie. That's who I thought, but I thought, no, he wasn't there, was he? 6 games.
Yeah,
There's
and
been a
then
lot of rotation over at that spot, you
there
know?
has been. The other one, I
Yeah.
thought Philip Dorsett was gonna be the hardest. This I thought was gonna be the second hardest is Tyrone Johnson because he came over and only played
Oh,
s he only it was only 7 games
yeah.
Tyrone
I
Johnson played.
remember Tyrone.
And then the
Okay.
last one is a safety, a recent safety.
Recent safety. Okay. Epps?
Yes,
Could
it
he wear
is
one?
Marcus
Okay,
Epps.
okay.
Yes,
Because I thought
it
about
is.
Epps and I was like, "That's it. It's Epps."
Yes.
Okay, so I had the recent ones, okay, but the older ones, I guess I've washed from my brain.
Yeah, that's okay. You can wash it for and Geno Smith. Geno Smith got washed
Geno
from the brain
Smith
too.
just was like, well, Raider Nation gets it.
They're hoping to forget it too.
Well, here's the thing. You have the number 1 pick, you know?
Yeah, it helps. He's gonna need to be good.
Yeah,
All right, Heidi,
I
you
can't
did
believe I
better.
forgot Geno.
You did better than I would have expected you to do, even after saying you were gonna memorize them all. You did way better than I thought.
Oh, well, thank you. And the part of it just really is because it's my job. And as you know, I take my job very seriously. And when I'm out on any court, any field, any place that you see me, I really want to be able to execute fast and to the best of my knowledge. And so I do everything that I can to remember as many as I possibly can all the time.
And I am
Philip
horrendous with
Dorset's
player numbers.
Philip Dorset's salmon recipes, fire.
You're making well, what's in the rest of the salmon recipe?
It's just like a rub, he was telling me about how you could put it on the barbecue a certain way, make it, have leave a lot of flavor and all that. So that's pretty much it. It was nothing fancy, but that's the beauty of it is it's easy. You just say some seasoned pepper and a little bit of a rub and put it out in there. I
That's the
put
only
it
reason you have this job is to get recipes from players.
Yeah, and to talk to them about who their favorite martial artists or boxers are too. It's like, my former niche is judo, and yeah, it was another one trying to memorize 500 fighters on a roster on any given UFC card, what they were good at and what they did.
Yeah, and they don't have
So
numbers either,
they
so
don't. They
you
they
just gotta
have
know their
weight
face.
classes and
Yeah,
weight class. Weight class is important.
yeah. Can you recognize their face even when their eyes are swollen and they can't
Yeah.
see out of it? Okay,
Yeah,
alright,
most
just
of the
checking,
time. And that
just
was the
checking.
hard part too about, like, talking to some of them, like, I know I digress, but, like, when Wei Li Jing or Rose Namajunas or I remember once, Joe, Benavidez, talking to him and there's a lot of those where you're like, "Man, that's a rough fight. Why are you standing and giving interviews as a conscious human being right now?" And it was always, I was always really grateful for them.
Well, she is Heidi Fang from the Review Journal. If you see Heidi, just ask her what any player's number is and see how she does.
Except for number 7.
Except for 7. Don't ask her number 7. She might forget that one. Heidi, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.